TCU football coach Sonny Dykes with us, 365 Sports in Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. Change of scenery. I mean, normally you just get in a car and drive to wherever you were going in Dallas, Frisco. Your thoughts about where we are and being here in Vegas?
Yeah, normally AT&T, the stadiums kind of look remarkably similar. Black seats here, celebrating the Raiders and the whole Raider thing. But, but it's cool. Glad to be here. And, don't mind. If you're going to go someplace, you might as well be Las Vegas. And so we certainly don't mind being here.
Are you a Vegas guy? I mean, like coaches, you don't get to be like your schedule is different. So your vacations aren't like 2 weeks long or anything like that. But are you a Vegas guy?
Used to be before we had kids.
Yeah.
We were at the University of Arizona. My wife and I first got married and weren't too far away. And you started coming up here some and had a great time. But, it used to be 4 or 5 times a year. Now it's maybe once every couple of years. Mm-hmm. So.
We talked to you, I guess it was a few weeks ago over the phone, and just kind of talked about the offseason and how things were going. Now that we're, I guess, a couple of months out at this point, how do you feel about just where you guys are at this stage?
Good. Had a chance to watch our guys work out yesterday morning. We had a little bit of a break around the 4th of July, and I think our players are in a good place. I like our team. It's the deepest team I think I've ever coached, just in terms of, competition for every position. A competitive group. I think that we've got a lot of guys that could end up, de-seeding guys that have been starters for a while, some newcomers. And so to me, I like the competitive environment that the guys have. And, they'd have to bring their best every day or somebody's going to take their place. And I think that's encouraging. Year one, we had a pretty good year, but it was, we had 2 corners and we had very few D linemen. There just wasn't a lot of competition. There wasn't a lot of depth. We were fortunate to stay healthy, and this group has, at some positions 4 or 5 deep, which we haven't been in the past.
Well, competition breeds better, right?
It does, yeah.
Does that also keep you from complacency? Not that you would after last year, but 2 years ago, what happened last year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that in the college football landscape, you have a good year like we did in 22, and you think, well, there's going to be this carryover. These players are going to learn from the guys that were in front of them, and they're going to learn about the importance of consistency and doing the little things right and all the things that help you win football games. And then you look up and, 60 guys on your roster are gone. We had 7 juniors declare early for the NFL draft that we were really counting on, to help us. And so there was just a lot of things that, we kind of had to start over in a lot of ways from scratch, and a lot of new players. And we didn't do a good job of getting them to buy into our culture. You know what I mean? We just seemed like we never quite got the guys in the right headspace. And, that's really honestly falls on me to get that done. That's my biggest job is setting the standard and building a culture. And I don't know that we ever did a very good job doing that last year, and I think we're in a much better place this year.
You told us the last time about the kind of scheduling hangover, just that, you were essentially a month behind of where you normally would be, and that was brand new territory for everybody. So
it was, yeah.
The best part about that, though, I guess, and the other thing is now
We do. Yeah, we do. And we certainly don't want to be a one-hit wonder when it comes to getting in the college football playoff. We think we're a program that ought to have an opportunity to do that, and certainly ought to be in the conversation year in and year out. And so, we have a lot to prove based on last year. The way we played and the way we coached last year wasn't good, and we didn't do a good job of living up to our potential. But I think that's you learn. I think that's the great thing is you learn from all of these things. You learn from success in year 22, and you learn from success or failure in 23, and that's the great thing about our profession is every team's different, every situation's different, and you have to adapt.
What about this new Big 12 with 16 teams now?
Interesting.
8 new teams in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's, I was with half of these teams in 2 different leagues. At Cal and, coached against all these teams when I was at Cal, and then coached against a bunch of them in the American before getting to TCU. And so I have a lot of familiarity with these programs and know what they're capable of and know how they're built. I think that's the thing about college football is, you have to have a niche. You got to figure out what your niche is, and you've got to, unless you're one of the blue bloods and one of the big brands, and all those guys get the benefit of the doubt on everything. But if you're not one of them, then you got to find a niche somehow, and you got to figure out, what you have that's unique and what's different and how to build around that.
Do you have to remind people sometimes that you guys beat Michigan in the semifinals and played for the national championship?
Yeah, and you got to remind people that I think this is right, that TCU's 9-3, their last 12 against Texas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think if you ask most people, they would say Texas was 12-0, and I mean just stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I think you guys dealt with that there in Waco. When Baylor was having a ton of success. I mean, people just didn't give the program kind of the credit, and you just got to. The thing you have to do is you have to do it consistently, and Gary Patterson made an incredible run at TCU, and it was very, very consistent, and part of that was in the Mountain West, and part of it was in the Big 12, and I think that what we have to do is take advantage of this opportunity to become one of the elite programs in the Big 12, and we have to do it consistently. And I think when you're not a blue blood in college football, and you're kind of an up and coming program, or a program that people haven't really given maybe the respect the program deserves, you have to do extra. You got to be better. And it's funny, I was in Montana with my family. I took my son to go eat the other day at a little diner, and a guy walked in with an Ohio State shirt and bought our meal and just said, "Hey, thanks. I just wanted to tell you thanks for beating Michigan." And so he remembered. I don't know that anybody else remembers, but he remembered. So I got a free meal out of the deal.
I love that.
Well, spite is often a very productive emotion. So that's what they do at Ohio State. So,
yeah, I got a kick out of that. I mean, it's funny. You go places and you get, the Ohio State people are always, happy to see you when you show up.
Sonny Dykes, again, TCU football coach with us on 365 Sports. You've mentioned blue blood a couple of different times. Do you feel like the Big 12, you're going to have champions getting in?
Yeah.
What will the Big 12 need to do, in your opinion, to have at least two teams get in, or have two teams get in?
Well, I think if you go back and you look at 2022, you have to play well. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you go and you win all your games, you're getting in. And I think that's what's great about college football is at the end of the day, if you go out there and you win those football games week after week after week, you're going to get in. Because we lost the Big 12 championship that year, and there was a lot of concern. We might not get in based on the one loss, and we were fortunate to get in and to win the semifinal game and go play for a championship. But I think you just have to win those non-conference games. Mm-hmm. There's going to be opportunities to win on big stages. I think the Big 12 has to do that. I think we certainly helped that cause in 2022 by going and beating Michigan, a team that won the national championship a year later, returned a lot of those players. And you have to do things like that, whether it's TCU or whoever the program is. And, we have these new teams join us. I mean, there's been very few people that have been as consistent as Utah over the last 20, 25 years in college football. I mean, this has been a big-time program and have won a lot of ball games. And, their record compares very favorably to some of these so-called blue bloods. And, and when they've had opportunities to play those teams in big games in the past, they've shown very well. And so, the league has to continue to do that.
How frustrating is it? Like, look, blue bloods earned their blue blood status.
Yeah, 100 years ago, sure.
But yeah, I mean, they did. But to have to battle that, considering that, it shouldn't be about what happened in 1985, or it shouldn't be about that. It should be about the now. Like, today, this team is better than this team, and it doesn't matter that Bo Schembechler was the coach or whatever.
Or it doesn't matter if you have 80,000 students, or what I'm saying, or how many people buy, your season ticket subscriptions or whatever. You know what I mean? All the crazy stuff. And so, what should matter is actually what happens on the field. Mm-hmm. And, and I think in this league, it's going to be a really quality product. There's 16 teams. I think it's going to be as wide open as any race in college football. I think what makes our league awesome is the last 3 years, 6 different teams have competed in the Big 12 championship. That's parity unlike any other league. You go and you look at the SEC and the Big 10, it's the same teams year in and year out. That's not the case in the Big 12. And I think that I'm hopeful that people will recognize that speaks to the consistency of these programs and the quality programs and the players and the quality of the coaches in the league. And I hope that people will recognize that. And that was with, again, Texas and Oklahoma being in the league. And so there are a lot of teams that were, representing the Big 12 and in a really good way that weren't necessarily the blue bloods.
You have 5 reps: Jack Beck, Caleb Fox, Josh Hoover, Namdi Obiazor, and also Mike Nichols. What was kind of the thought process in wanting those guys to be here and representing TCU?
Well, what's good is we could have brought about 10 guys, that I think could have represented our program well and probably deserved to come. Obviously Josh Hoover, everybody wants to talk to the quarterback, and he's a guy that is a young guy, and we're very excited about him. I think he's going to end up being one of the best quarterbacks I've ever coached. I think he's just got all the stuff. He can make the throws, but he's got the intangibles that just make him different and unique. So we're very excited about him. Namdi's played a lot of football for us. He's been a really good player. Jack has really kind of become a team leader for us, a guy that everybody counts on. I think he's going to have a big year. He can play a variety of different positions for us, inside receiver, outside receiver. He'll be one of our best special teams players. Mike Nichols is, probably the most experienced offensive lineman we have, and Caleb Fox has been really incredibly productive. So all the guys, I think, are very deserving. Could have brought Johnny Hodges. Johnny was our leading tackler 2 years ago when we played for a national championship, and he's been a little bit banged up. Bud Clark's another guy that could have come as well. He's a safety that's been incredibly productive for us. Avery Helm is a corner that has gotten a lot of confidence and turned himself into a really good football player, a guy that we're real excited about. So there's a number of people that we could have brought, but those were kind of the guys that made the most sense.
Sonny, do you ever stop learning about something new in football?
No. I think that's what makes college football fun. I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's complicated, but it's a blast to try to figure it out. You know what I mean? And try to stay ahead and try to say, okay, well, this is what's happening. How can we make this work for us? And I think that, again, I've kind of been at those programs that maybe haven't historically been championship programs, or maybe been programs that had all the pieces to make it easy. And so we've had to improvise. We've had to figure things out, and we've had to find our niche, like we talked about earlier. And that's, to me, that's what makes us fun, and that's what makes it challenging, because every year is different, especially now in college football. Because, I mean, who knows? There may be only 3 power conferences by mid-October. Wouldn't be a bit surprised. And so, I mean, the stuff is changing fast.
You know something we don't know?
I mean, I know there's some lawsuits going on right in that part of the country, and when teams start suing conferences, typically that's not good for the conference. Mm-hmm. And there's some of that happening right now. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now in college football, and that's it's kind of changed more probably in the last 3 years than it has in the last 50.
I agree.
In a lot of ways, and to me, I see that as opportunity.
Sonny Dykes, head football coach at TCU, with us on 365 Sports. Craig?
How much of a jolt has Angelos given you guys defensively, and just what's that process been like?
A lot. He's been great. Andy's one of those guys that I've kind of watched his career from afar through the years. Was the D coordinator at Boise and at Oregon, and really, really good, and liked his attacking style of defense. Love the way, they pressure the passer and create turnovers, and just all the stuff that we felt like we weren't doing. And we just have to, in today's world, you got to do that. You got to turn people over. You got to stop the run. And I feel like that from our personnel, going to a 4-down made more sense for us. I think it helps us in recruiting. It just gave us, I think, more opportunities to find guys that could rush the passer, that didn't have to be 280-pound guys. Those guys are hard to find, that are elite 280-pound pass rushers. And it gave us a chance to play with some 220-pound, 230-pound guys that are more speed. And anyway, he's been really good to us. I mean, he's a guy that's got a lot of energy. Andy's very organized, has a plan for everything. He's been a head coach. People forget 2 years ago he was the Mountain West Coach of the Year and was 10-2 as the head coach at Boise, and so he's had a lot of success through the years. And when we started talking through this process a little bit, I think we just believed a lot of the same things, and as we started saying, was this going to be a good fit, it just happened naturally. I think the first conversation we had was a 3-hour phone conversation, and it's been I mean, it's been since junior high that I've talked to anybody 3 hours, and it wasn't a football coach. It was my girlfriend. So you know how it is. I mean, so we just kind of, I think we view football the same way, see the world the same way, and you know, it's given us a lot of energy, and I think has really inspired a lot of confidence in our players, and so I'm excited. I think defensively we're gonna take a big step, and you know, you got to turn people over, and you got to create chaos and havoc, and I think we're going to be able to do that.
I just had a mental image of your dad telling you to get off the phone.
Yeah, you know, back in the day, you used to have those long cords. You know, that was always reached from like the kitchen to the bedroom. Yeah. So that was we had one phone in my house.
It's good to see you. Good luck
you too,
this
guys.
year.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Exciting time of the year, man.
Yes, sir. It is. Sonny Dykes, head football coach at TCU in Vegas on 365 Sports.